Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to the Element Podcast. What's happening, everybody? KC and I have been game planning some fishing, but not necessarily for you.
That's right.
For me and my family, because KC is just pretty much a underground expert of the Texas coast. I'm
that word makes me real uncomfortable.
Expert or underground?
Both. Yeah, so, expert for sure.
Yeah,
but I have spent some time down there.
Yeah,
so I know some stuff.
We talked a lot about. You gave me a lot of good spots and places to stop by and see when we go down there. Hopefully, going down there in a couple weeks. Just to try some fishing, do some camping, and do some birding and gatoring probably too.
Yeah,
so, is that an actual phrase? How do you say that?
I don't know.
Gator watching.
Yeah. Shoot 'em.
So pretty excited about that. I haven't spent a whole lot of time down there, and people are like, "Oh, it's in your state," Well. It's 6 hours, It's like,
could you maybe drive to the Ozarks or drive to the Texas coast? It's kind of like, well, it's gonna be warmer at the coast, so it's a good place to go, right?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think that another reason it's not something I've ever done is because we fished around here a lot. My dad has a fishing lodge, and so that's kind of a natural thing for us to do in spring and summer when we're not hunting, and it's pretty intimidating to go down there and look at all those waterways and canals and beaches and all the different things that are going on at the Texas coast, and to think that you can just go down there and do it. I mean, like you said, you and Pop. I guess your dad was with you that day. Try to sink a boat and
yeah. We did before we ever. Well, yeah. I don't guess we ever took a boat. No, we did. We took a boat down before we ever went out with a guide. But when we went to South Padre specifically, we went out with a guide first, and he kind of showed us the ropes. And then the next year we came down and did our own thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't really poach spots in the Laguna Madre because it's so big. But there's like a technique you got to kind of learn.
Yeah.
Sorry I sound weird, guys. I've been struggling with sickness. But Tyler made me talk so much this morning that I don't have a great voice. But, yeah, we went down there. My granddad actually started going down there with my dad when he was about 14. They bought an old Larson ski boat and just went down there and went fishing in the ocean. They caught the then would-be state record kingfish. And it was too long to put in the cooler, so they cut it in 3 pieces to fit it in the cooler, and they got it back to the bank and figured out it would have been a state record. Yeah.
That's funny.
Which it wouldn't be now, you know, but like at that, I don't know what the weight was or whatever.
Dude, they were pioneers, man.
Dude, they were.
Back then.
They were catching some stuff.
It'd be kind of hairy to go down there back then, man.
No GPS, no nothing. They had CBs that worked half the time. You know what I mean? Like, golly, Wally. Yeah. They also had a pretty cool experience one time. They troll ribbon fish, real slow, And my dad said that there was this fish that had a big old nose one time that came up behind their boat and was slashing at there. So it would have been like a marlin or something. You know, they had like a marlin that was chasing their ribbon fish or a sailfish or something, you know.
Dude.
They didn't have a clue.
It's crazy.
He also, one time, they were out fishing by a rig. And my dad said there was a fish the size of the boat down below their boat, and Pop was trying to catch it. And my dad was young enough that Pop was like, "Oh, if we hang this one, we're going to Cuba." Like saying it was going to, and my dad was so scared. Well, it ends up it was like a G-fish or Goliath grouper is what they call them now.
Oh, yeah.
So they saw one of those and didn't have a clue what it was. You know, he's trying to, I think Pop was actually trying to snag it back then. You know, because he couldn't get it to bite. You know? Statute limitations are gone on that for sure. So it's not too big of a deal.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
That's cool, though. You guys are just a bunch of old salty dogs, aren't you?
We've done some interesting stuff down there, man. It's a cool place to be. I'm excited for y'all to get to go as a family. And what's neat about the Texas coast is it's pretty family friendly. You know, there's always like you can be fishing, and then there's like hermit crabs, and then there's like worms in the sand, or ghost shrimp, or shells, or sea glass. Like there's always something to do for everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. You know, I know you guys did the guided thing that one year, and then decided you'd do the DIY thing. And you know, speaking of that, we've got an unguided guy here coming up on the podcast today. This is our friend Brian Koch. He's been on the podcast before in a flurry of conversation that we had
way back
a couple of years ago. Who even knows if anybody listened to that episode or cared to understand it? But it was a fun time for us. I know that. Anyway, Brian has a brand called Ultimate Upland, and he has pretty much only hunted upland birds his whole life. I don't think has ever killed a big game animal, and we brought him down for a pig hunt, and it got pretty awesome and pretty exciting. And so with that said, we are actually going to have a video from this trip that we did, and it was pretty exciting. I've watched a couple of the clips, man, and pretty awesome. Definitely, if you're like a person that gets nauseous or dizzy, don't watch.
Yeah. A lot of GoPro shaking going on.
Yeah, there's definitely. And I had the handheld, and of course, you know, I'm running with a handheld. It's not good. So
yeah.
But we actually don't talk a whole lot of the pig side of things too much here. The pig tactics and whatever else you might, you know, what actually happened, I guess. So I imagine Casey and I will get on and talk about that and how we went about trying to kill pigs, and actually we're pretty successful this trip. So
yeah,
we'll go into that at some point soon. Also, you had a video release recently of you and some deer.
Yeah, me and one deer in particular. I guess I saw some other ones on that little trip. You think you just left, and I was going to push for like another day and a half or something in Kansas. And got down to like the wire, and I had a buck come in that I was willing to kill. I was willing to put my tag on, and things got kind of crazy in a bad way. I hit the deer lethally, we'll put it that way. And if you want to, you can go watch that video. It's up on YouTube. It's strangely been uncontroversial, but also at the same time,
yeah, it
has been with just a few individuals. But I really appreciate those of you who have been supportive and encouraging through, I mean, not that like a family member of mine passed away, but it stinks to lose a deer, man. Mm-hmm. It's not fun. We've talked about it some on this podcast, and I was in a pretty tough place driving home after that. You know, it just kind of was a difficult deal. But anyways, go watch the video. Let us know what you think about it. Please comment on it and tell me what you think the final outcome was, because it's kind of iffy and weird.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. I think what I found comforting, at least, is that because we kind of wrestled with the fact of whether we should even put this out because the footage is kind of it's not something you would see over the last 3 decades on outdoor TV or something. But we didn't know if we should do this or not. We came to the conclusion that we thought it was good, and that we thought we could maybe make people feel like they're not alone in the world, possibly, if things went right. And I think we found out there's a lot of people that have had similar things happen, similar situations, and that, you know, we're not the only ones that have had this happen to them, and that they can know that that's not the case too, and that, you know, even the guys that are at least pretending to be pros can, or experts or whatever they're pretending to be, probably have this happen from time to time and just don't put it out there on video. So Anyway, go watch it, and we'll get Brian on the podcast.
I make all my content not appropriate for kids.
Yeah.
Do you make yours appropriate for kids?
That's why R3's dying, Brian, because of that right there.
No, Upland guys are a little bit older usually, right? There's not a whole lot of just young.
A little bit.
I mean, when I think about Upland dudes, I think about old gray heads because they have money to get dogs and all kinds of boxes and trailers and.
What else do they have?
Fine shotguns. That's what they got.
They got fine shotguns, gray hair. What else they got? What's your stereotypical Upland guy? What's he made of? What's he got?
LL Bean cloth. That's what he's made
cut from a
of.
cloth.
He's a Build-A-Bear made of LL Bean.
Wait, what? You're just saying? Does LL Bean have a signature cloth, or is it?
I feel like they have a textile facility somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not camo, is what you're saying.
No.
It's orange.
No, yeah, I guess, but
Orange and khaki, right?
If you're gonna go like realistic, orange and coyote would be the hunting the SHOT Show color would be coyote, right, or coyote. Right? Aren't those coyote pants you have on there right now?
They're only that because they've been broke in so hard from all of my Upland hunting.
They used to be.
These used to be black.
Oh, no way.
And now,
no way.
They are coyote.
Yeah, coyote.
Let me ask you this: is the Upland guy in your head? Is his orange brighter than your current shirt?
No, I don't think they make such a thing.
Nope, there is no such thing.
There's no such thing.
That's construction orange right there.
Yeah, I think that there's a shift in amongst the Upland community, as you referred to it earlier, right? And there's a shift towards fluorescent pink, right? Because they've legalized that.
I think,
right?
As Upland hunters, we should start wearing more pink. Yes, because our colors are everything.
Why is... So we talked about this earlier. Why, we can wear pink now legally, or anybody could legally wear pink, but there's no designation of what blaze orange actually is, right?
You mean there's no designation of what blaze pink is?
That either, right?
I don't know. Actually, are men allowed to, or is it only for women?
See, I don't know about that either. That's a good question.
Texas just says that blaze pink is now legal for that. Yeah.
I don't understand why blaze blue isn't, quite frankly, because I'm liking some blaze blue.
Whitetails,
they see blue.
that's their main color.
Nobody hunts whitetail.
I know.
Especially in Texas.
This is something that I've actually always wondered. Like, would some camo not help just a little bit?
On Upland game?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We aren't trying to hide from our prey, unlike you guys who are trying to deceive animals with very tiny brains with your camo. We are going to put it out there that this is who we are and how we hunt. And you give us your best game, we don't have to fool you with clothes.
Yeah, I got you.
That's what we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You fooled me with your clothes today.
I know. I was fooling.
Because you got on Sitka Gear right now. They don't make Upland stuff.
Hey, if you guys didn't know, Sitka is making solids now. It's very nice stuff.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah. It's not blaze.
You said who we are. Who are we? Who are you? That's what we were trying to say. What's your name?
I am a pig killing machine.
That's right. This is Brian Koch. He's second time appearance on the podcast.
Yeah. 2 years ago was your first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it 2 or was it 3?
Well, it was in August of some year.
Yeah, 2.5.
2017.
2017. August 2017.
That's before I got
minute.
blackballed.
Yeah. Why'd you get blackballed?
I speak the truth.
That's right.
There you go.
The truth is spoken at ultimateupland.com, right? So, Brian Koch has Ultimate Upland, and we're mixing a couple cultures here today. But you wrote a pretty controversial article, one of many, right? In controversy, your middle name there.
Yep.
It's controversial Upland is your, like, you type that in and it's a linked site, right?
It's another URL.
Yeah.
That gets
You
there.
wrote can't spell hypocrite without REI, which is the best title ever given to an article ever in the world.
Until my current article with you guys, which is going to be the new reigning best title ever. You don't intentionally go out to get blackballed, but you do. I say you. I shouldn't talk about it in terms of you because you guys don't feel the need to do this. You play nice with others. I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with
We
it.
don't lie, though. We tell the truth, but sometimes we just don't say something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're more politically correct about it. How's that?
That's okay.
Sure.
You hate that word.
He does.
Well, I just think that we're still young enough to care. You're at that point where, like, you're old enough, right, that you don't care anymore.
Hey, just so everybody knows, I want you all to pull up a picture of KC, pull up a picture of me, and set them side by side, and I want you to do a survey of the 10 people closest by you and ask who is older. I'm not even going to reveal the results. You go do that right now. You just go just a random survey. Who is older in these two pictures? They got to look like mugshots, and I'm going to guarantee you.
You're probably right.
You are a young-looking feller, man.
You are, man.
And I don't mean that in any sense of what we've been talking about prior to this podcast.
Hey, hashtag me too.
That's right. That's right. So, speaking of me too, you wanted to hop on board and be a pig hunter because, you know, that me too kind of thing, you too kind of thing.
You saw us doing it and you want to do it.
Exactly.
You said me too.
I don't know if anybody starts wanting to be a pig hunter.
What does that look? What's that path look like then?
I think I put it in your way, didn't I?
It was a case of unable to say no because, well, let's be honest. You guys question my hunting ability because I'm a bird hunter.
No.
And I question your hunting ability because you're deer hunters.
Oh, you definitely do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's you saw my LL Bean hat, whatever, and my cloth.
The hat is bad to the bone, by the way.
And you said...
Yeah.
Dude, that one with the light on it is LB?
That's new this year, man, by the way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian gets way too much promo stuff.
Yeah, did you get sponsored to say that?
I know. I couldn't. Honestly, I can't tell you the model of that hat.
I own some LL Bean stuff. I have a 3-weight fly rod that's a LL Bean, and it's my favorite little B rod.
Yep.
Yeah.
When's the last time you used it?
It would have been past summer.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you catch?
What did I catch on that? I probably caught some browns. Definitely caught some browns on it. Maybe a rainbow and some brookies.
Do you think LL Bean actually makes their rods, or do they just put their label on?
No, Jingzhong makes it in China and sends it to us.
There you go.
Yeah.
at least it's a memorable name.
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah, no kidding. Based off of a Hostess product, right?
Oh man,
that's good. So what we've been doing is hog hunting. And Brian won't actually let us do this on private land. So it's all been public. It's also been unguided, questionably unguided. But
and he won't let us waste any of the meat, so we had to take out the jawbones and everything to make bone stock.
Everything. So tell our listeners what kind of gun you've been running down here in Texas on public land after the nastiest animals.
Well, I have this theory on guns. It's just you should only own one.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And since I'm actually bird hunting after this trip, and I was thinking about trying to find a cannon, something multi-shot that ejects hulls everywhere, and
I thought you would show up with a drum. A shotgun with a drum on it.
Well, I told you I wanted one of those Halo guns, and I saw them out at SHOT Show. I was like, man, I get me one of them Halo guns that looks like it's a pig killing, it's an everything killing looking gun. But then I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what's better than shooting a pig with a Halo gun? Because everybody expects you to kill a pig with a Halo gun. I'm just going to shoot pigs with my over-under.
20 gauge over-under, by the way. Not a 12 gauge.
That's how I started hunting pigs, though. I was running around out here with a small 20 gauge, and it works. I mean, right?
It works.
It does work.
Yesterday morning, I believe you stated that you killed your first big game animal yesterday morning. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's cool, man.
Oh, that's cool.
How did that make you feel in your feelings?
That first one, I had some mixed emotions in that first one. I spent some time with that pig after y'all walked away from me.
I could tell you wanted to. That's why.
Because I felt like, I know that down here they're considered pests and varmints and invasives, and I think that's everywhere for the most part because they do. I mean, obviously, I've been a firsthand witness of they just shred the heck out of everything out here. But they're still, for me, they're still animals, and I always feel like I mean, I have a connection to that no matter what, even if they are invasives. I mean, pheasants are invasive species too, you know, so.
Chucker.
Chucker.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. That means you're straight out of Pakistan.
Either that or McDonald's, right?
It was interesting. I didn't know how I'd feel about shooting that pig. Honestly, I didn't expect to shoot a pig because
Look who you going with.
well, right. The guys normally when they see an upland guy. So I'll be honest. First, when we started hunting, and this is like a driven pig hunt, if you will. I don't know if that's what you'd call it, but that's what we're doing. We're shotgunning pigs on an area where you have to use shotgun. No rifle shooting, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Not that I knew that, but I had to trust my guides put me on the right regs. So we're using shotguns with buckshot, and we're walking in some pretty thick cover down here. And to be honest with you, I'm walking along, and all of a sudden I'll hear KC shoot off to my right, blam, and then I'll hear Tyler off to my left, and he goes blam, and I don't see anything, and I'm thinking, these guys are screwing with me. There's not a pig in here, and we're going to take an upland guy out to a place where there's no pigs, and we're going to screw with him just to make him think. I thought it was a snipe hunt.
Yeah.
And I've hunted snipe for real, but I thought it was one of them snipe hunts you talk about.
Yeah, happens a night. Yeah.
But finally, we're out there, and Casey had told me at one point that pigs don't run straight away from you. They J-hook. And I thought, all right, they J-hook. And so Casey was to my left in this instance, and I heard him shoot, and then he hollered something. I couldn't hear anything other than the shoot.
It was in Texan, that's why I couldn't understand.
It was serious Texan, and I've just barely grasped that language right now. And so I was like, all right, if whatever he's shooting at is J-hooking, I'm going to get in the hook. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of weaseled my way out to a small opening, and I mean a big old pig comes strolling out right in front of me at 15 yards, and I thought, they aren't screwing with me. There's actually pigs in here. And we found out if the 20 gauge will work. Now, unfortunately, because I have an idea in my head of at the time of what shooting a pig should be, which is more rifle oriented and aiming, because when we're bird hunting, we don't aim, we point. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't. I never see the barrel. I don't see anything. I just lift my shotgun up and
instinctually make it
happens.
Yeah.
I don't see anything like that. I see the bird. But this thing's close, and it's not moving super fast, and it's big. And that's the first thing in my head is, man, it's big. And so I mounted my shotgun, and I aimed at it. And that's not the right thing to do when you're a bird hunter. And I hit that pig on the first shot. And I thought it was going to drop, but you guys told me these pigs are tough, and it didn't drop. It ran. And then I was on my heels already like, uh-oh. And I shot again, and I'm not sure where that second shot went. Luckily, Tyler was off to my right, and I scared the bejesus out of him.
I came around the corner of this like fence or whatever, and because I had heard the shooting and stuff, just in time to see Brian shoot his second shot at the pig. And I was like, "Hey, I'm over here." I was like, threw my arms up real loud because the pig was coming right at me at that time, and I was like, "If he reloads, I'm in trouble here." And then there's no telling what happened after.
You
that.
got in on the action.
I did. Yeah. We're not real sure what happened. The pig came into a thicket, and I could see it like 20 yards. And so I kind of moved around where I could see it the best that I could in that little area. Just enough to tell which side was the head, pretty much. And then I was like, "Hey, Brian, where you at?" You know, and he's like, "I'm coming around over here." So he's kind of swinging out wide so that I could shoot it if I needed to. And I shot at it, and I didn't see it move.
But you hit it, right?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I think that recoil is what kept me from seeing it move. I think it dropped. I don't know that for sure, but the reason I think that is because on the left side, which is the side I was shooting on, the right side was the side you were shooting on. On the left side, there was blood on the head that had dripped downwards instead of, So I thought that I had shot it, but I never saw it move. I shot the pig twice and never saw it move.
So what we're saying is there's a chance you shot a dead pig.
It's a pretty good chance that I shot a dead pig.
Maybe you finished it off.
there's a maybe.
Either way, all 4 in the hunting party got to shoot a pig that morning, so that was fun.
Yeah. Oh, I had fun.
Downtown Cody Brown was with us too. Mm-hmm. He's a Element super fan.
Oh, dang, man. Dang.
Well, he is, man.
No, he's an Element team member.
He is now, for sure. He's been not incarcerated. What's the right word here?
That sounds fine.
He's been incarcerated.
Well, he's currently trying to fly, so he's definitely not incarcerated.
Yeah, definitely not. But we all 3 got one that morning, and then packed out about 55 pounds of hog meat probably. Yeah. After that morning, and Brian really got into the butchering.
Yeah, your pig was so when you shot the pig, they were still hollering like there was more pigs, and so you and I were there beside each other, and KC was like, "There's more pigs, come over here, mark that on OnX," and I was like, "I'll mark it," and he was like, "Okay, I'll be right behind you," and I could tell that you wanted to take it in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I and there's another thing about for me, because of all the bird hunting I do, like when you get a bird down, and then maybe I'm a little bit strange this way, but like a lot of guys will shoot doubles, not double guns, but multiple birds on a flush. And I rarely do that, not only because I want to make sure that when I knock a bird down that I know exactly where it is and I'm able to get it back. Like there's a thing deep in me where I don't want to walk away from an animal I've shot because it just is. So I rarely, and in the upland sense, I rarely shoot doubles, not because there's not some opportunity sometimes, it's because I want to make sure that this one's in my hand before I focus on the next one. So when you guys were walking off, not that I thought we were going to walk off from that pig necessarily, but I felt like, man, I want to get this thing. It's deep in me where I'm not used to that. It's just not what I do. I knew we were going to come back for the pigs, but I also wanted to see what it was like. And then that thing was big,
huge.
Oh yeah, and
it's the biggest sow I've seen.
And so I was like, man, I want to see if I could drag this thing. And so I drug it out. It was in that thicket, and so you walked off, and I was like, man, I just want to get it out here in the clearing, just because I want to see. Part of that is because I want to make sure I can walk right back to it, but the other part is just because I wanted to see how heavy she was, and it was a load. By the time I got it out there, which was probably only 40 yards, it probably wasn't even that. I mean, I was dragging her by the back feet, and my forearms and hands, my grip was tired because of how heavy she was, pulling her back out of there. And I thought, man, if I had to drag this thing all by myself, that's part of, I didn't know. So because it's my first big game animal, although I've hunted big game with other folks, and I told you guys that, and tag teams and stuff, but I'm never really shooting big game for lots of reasons. But I hadn't butchered big game animals by myself, and especially not a hog, and not in the kind of weather that we're talking about. So there's a lot of questions in my mind, and I'm thinking in my head at this point, Jesus, if we got to drag this thing to the road, because I'm not sure how you guys do this, because we hadn't talked about that. I mean, I knew we were trying to get some meat, but I didn't know exactly what you guys did. And so in my head, I'm going, oh man, we're going to have to drive or drag this thing over there? Yeah. Because you guys had talked about, we're going to shoot the small ones, right? And I'm like, well, this doesn't qualify as small. And I wasn't sure exactly what we were getting into. So I was like, man, I wonder what's going to happen here, But then I started, so after, and even then, so the other thing you noticed, or maybe you didn't notice, is we're all wearing orange hats out here, and I normally don't wear a hat, but I was like, man, I got to make sure I can walk back to this pig, because I don't know what we're getting into. You guys were down there looking for other pigs, and I'm like, not sure how far we're going to get away from it. I'm like, you know what? I'm putting this orange hat on this pig because I want to find it again. Even though it's sitting at that point, it's sitting out in the open. But that's the same thing I do in an upland bird scenarios. I'd go, if I'd lost a bird, I'd go to the last place I saw that bird, and I'd put my glove or my hat. Normally I'm not wearing a hat, so normally I put a glove on whatever piece of brush is there, so they're sitting there waving at me, so that I have a central point of location that I can always turn back with the dog in, and then we'll just circle that. I'll bring the dogs in from different varying angles on the wind to that glove and try and find that bird.
When I hunted behind dogs a few weeks ago, they were like the guy that owned the dogs, he was like, they're not really retrievers. Is that kind of the same case with yours?
Well, I'm always hunting. For those that you don't pay a whole lot of attention to what I do, I always hunt a mix of flushers and pointing breeds. Mm-hmm. Right now, the two dogs that are here with me on this trip are my setter, who's a 7-year-old Llewellyn setter, and I've got a 2-year-old lab with me. So that lab. And all of my labs, they're retrievers by nature, although
right.
they also hunt. But they won't allow that setter to pick up a bird pretty much.
Oh, really?
Like, they're like, that's our job. You can outrun us and you'll find birds, but our job is to flush and to retrieve, so we aren't going to let you pick up a bird and bring it to us. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of guys who are hunting pointing breeds, English pointers or short hairs. German short hairs are generally they're retrieving dogs, but some of them pointing breeds they have a hard time, and even setters. Some setters have a hard time bringing birds to hand. Mm-hmm. You can train that into them. Some guys don't care about it that much because it's they're more of a form. That's a luxury in some regards. It's a form thing. Like I some people care about it. Some people don't care about it.
Form, like what the dog looks like while it's pointing. Is that what you're talking about?
No, what they if you've got a good setter that doesn't bring a bird to hand, even if you knock that bird down, that dog will go find that bird and it'll point the dead bird for you, and you can walk up and pick up that bird. Mm-hmm. So. But some hunters would consider that bad form. A certain type of upland hunter would go, well, your dog don't retrieve birds to hand. The ideal retrieve is you shoot a bird, that dog, and you don't move from that location. Mm-hmm. You don't take 2 steps to where that bird went down. That dog finds that bird and brings it to you without and in true form, it will sit beside you and won't drop that bird until you give it the command to put the bird in your hand. And that is what would be considered the idealistic form of upland hunting. I don't get too wrapped up into it as to what idealism is in upland hunting, because I don't subscribe to it.
We figured that out.
Yeah. Well, hunting a flusher and a setter together anyways is like those two things. Most guys, traditionalists, would say, well, you're just going to ruin a good setter or a good pointer by running it with a dog that flushes. The way I hunt, my dogs hunt the way I hunt. So the way I hunt, and the benefit of that for me is when you have a setter who's trained to, or a pointer that's trained to hold birds and not move, essentially, is steady to flush and to shot, which is what that's called. When a bird flushes, the dog holds, does not move an inch. When you shoot, the dog does not move an inch. That's steady to, it's what people would call a finished dog in that regard. I don't really subscribe to that. What those guys, if you're hunting in a place on a prairie where it's open and you can just walk up to a bird that's sitting there, that's wonderful if you have a dog that's solid in that regard. Mm-hmm. But if you're hunting in a thick grouse woods, or even stuff like we're hunting out here, which would be crazy thick stuff where it's quail cover, the last thing I want to do is go in there and have to kick up a bird.
Right.
Like, I don't want to have to go stomp in there because my dog won't move no matter what. It's been drilled into its head, don't move. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I got a dog. And she'll look at me and she'll go, okay, you ready for this? And I'll go, yeah, let's go ahead. Mm-hmm. And then we don't even have to talk. She just goes, okay, he's ready. Mm-hmm. She's right there.
She is. She's looking right at you. And she knows you're talking about it.
Yeah, she knows. And so, and half the time she's got it down to the point now where she'll literally look over her shoulder and she'll be like, is now the time? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, you'll see me on some of my videos, like especially on the ptarmigan and stuff, where I'll make her sit way back. Like, Rio will be up there on point, and I'll make Ida sit just because I'm either trying to get a camera set up or I'm trying to, the stuff we do to try and share this, what we're doing. Yeah. But I'll make her sit. I could make her heel, but I just try and keep her out of frame because it's funny to watch her run in because she looks like this little lion when she runs in. It's halfway between a stalk and a full run. You know how lioness, when you see it hunting something, it's like It's like it's creeping until it's sure that the game sees it, like it's over, but it's kind of like creep running. That's exactly what she does.
That's cool.
It's cool.
But that's so when I'm hunting birds, I'm not concerned about what it is for somebody else. I'm concerned about what it is for me and how this upland thing is for me. And I like the ability to stand off from a bird that's locked down and allow the dog to do the flushing, and it lets me just concentrate on flight path, and I don't have to kick anything up and be surprised by it. You know, I let the dogs work for me, and they like doing that. So, but yeah, the traditionalists, it's probably not what they're down with, but we don't. The traditionalists are dying.
You're
off.
not very traditional though with what you do, man.
A little different.
Yeah,
a little different
sure.
every now and then. Pig hunting's just like bird hunting, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Just pushing?
Well, we don't, I rarely line up, but it's, so the other hogs that I've shot with you guys, I stopped aiming, and started doing what I would do on a wild running bird. And there's other similarities that I notice, like when we're walking through this thick cover, these hogs try and backdoor you. They try and like sneak out the back, and that's something exactly like a smart old bird would do. Is they're going to sit, and then when they think the danger's past, they're going to escape out the back door. And we've seen it multiple times, but that's how I shot that third pig yesterday. It tried to get out the back door.
I heard you shot, and then I heard you yelling where you were, and I was like, what is he doing over there? We just walked through that.
They had that pig literally came out from between Cody and I were like 30 yards apart.
Yeah.
I could hear it in the cedars, and I was like, I can hear Cody, but I'm pretty sure I hear something else moving in there. And then all of a sudden, pow.
Well, and so these guys had walked. I was down by the lake, by the water at that point, and I had kind of gotten in some thick stuff and got cut off. And I know that they were walking faster than I was because I had half a pig in my pack in case he was carrying a pig too. But I could see him, and then I lost track of where they were, and we were coming up to sunset. And so I figured I'd just cut out. And I knew that they were ahead of me, but I didn't know how far. And so I cut out behind them, and I was just going to get in an open spot and watch for you guys because I knew we were somewhere close to the truck at that point. I wasn't watching it on my map. I just kind of knew in my head that we were in the ballpark. And so I thought, if I could just get in the open, I'll see where you guys bump out. And I had just kind of, when that pig came out, I was just sitting at the edge. I was just standing there. And I just kind of taking a break, trying to get a bead on where you were. And I could hear you guys down to my left. And I thought, they're in there. And then that pig comes running out the back door, and it was a big pig.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't anything small about that thing. And the weird part was it was running. It was in escape mode from you guys, and then it got even with me, and I think it hurt it. As soon as I saw it break into the clear, I started running, but I wasn't running fast. It was probably 45. I was just kind of trotting with it, and it stopped because it heard me. And when it stopped, I kicked it. So I kicked it even faster because I wanted to close the distance, and then it saw me out of its peripheral vision, and it started to run. Like it was like, the jig's up, and it was up. I mean, I think it's funny that because I was questioning after the first one I shot, I was like, man, these big ones, I'm not sure whether 20 gauge with buckshot was going to work, and then those last two pigs kind of. It changed my mind, but it's because I stopped doing what I told you guys. I started shooting them like birds.
You were overcoached, is what happened.
Yeah.
Well, I overcoached in my head.
I overcoach. I'm pretty bad about overcoaching, and so, like, I should have known that a guy that shot as many birds as you have probably would have an idea how to shoot something moving. Instead of going, just put it on the end of his nose, that like made you probably aim at a point, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think in most big game hunting, because I see big game hunting a lot, and I still think it's an aiming thing. You know, everybody's aiming, and you're waiting till the animal's still. But for me, that shotgun, because I've used it so much for so long, it points, as long as I mount the gun right, it points true. So I don't have to look at the gun. We don't ever, shotgunners, upland hunters we don't close an eye. We keep you're keeping both eyes open, and you're looking past the gun to the target. And I use my index finger the shotgun's an extension of my body. But so that first pig, I closed my off eye, and I was looking at the bead and looking at the pig and looking at the bead, looking at the pig, and I shot high on her. I still hit her, but again, she didn't drop dead immediately. But the following two, I mean, I didn't think about it, I didn't close an eye. I was running, and I just pulled the gun up like I would on a bird, and fired, and there was, I mean, they were dead.
It's the most ridiculous thing, like, to see you out there with this Orvis pack on and a silver pigeon looking 20 gauge,
Yeah.
you know, like it's a nice over and under, was, you know, before it got beat up real bad. But, you know, like this is it's got like a light receiver or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
and,
got aluminum receiver on it.
And so
it's
like
a 5.5 pound gun.
Yeah, it's tiny.
5 3/4 pound
I mean,
gun.
and then like yesterday you smoked 3 pigs and the last 2 were like one shotters. Right?
Yeah,
tumbling one-shotters.
Yeah, like smoking.
Yeah,
which, first of all, KC got to see you run on that second pig, and he said you look like an Indian running through the woods.
Yeah,
like,
that one was kind of cool.
Yeah.
like hawking it. Did you play sports in high school?
Yeah, I did, and I blew out my knee, and then that puts a little crimp in the sports
Yeah,
action.
sure enough.
But that one was these guys were telling me that they were guiding me most of the day, and so I told them in the afternoon. I told them in the afternoon that if I get out away from them a little bit, don't feel bad, because I didn't want to feel like I couldn't make it happen. Mm-hmm. And Casey had showed me how to cut up a pig, so I was somewhat confident that even if they got away from me a ways, that I'd be able to cut a pig up myself. Probably not do as good a job with it, but
I think you should change your brand to Ultimate Unguided.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
And it's still got the alliteration, right?
There you
Yeah.
go, exactly.
But that one, Casey was off to my right, and I was still keeping visual contact with him, but I was trying not to play off of Casey's J-hooks. I wanted KC to actually play off my J-hooking pigs so that I could tell him that I just guided his ass. And so, and it actually almost worked out, but I was close by the water on that one, and I saw her running, and she was trotting at first, and I figured out on that one, it's all a learning curve, really. I don't know what I'm doing at all, just by talking to you guys some. But on that one, I thought, she hadn't seen me yet, but she knew there was danger in the area, and she was J-hooking. She was going to J-hook right to Casey, and I thought I could intercept her before she got the full J-hook in. And so I picked a point out there where I thought I had the intersection, but in order to get there, it was a pretty good sprint. I mean, it wasn't, I've run faster in my life, but she was big. And so I was like, oh no, I ain't got this one. I've got to get this one unguided. Mm-hmm. So I picked a point where I thought I could intersect her. She was probably 45 from me. I wasn't confident that I could kill her at 45, although I probably could have. And she was angling away, and I picked this point of intersection. And when she saw me running, she started running faster. She started getting it up. But you guys had told me you can run as fast as a pig, and so I thought, well, I can run as fast as a pig. And so I just was like, I'm going to run her down. And I ran to. Well, you didn't quite see the shot, but you saw me running.
Oh, I saw you shot.
I closed it to probably inside of 20.
I bet you covered 50 yards in your sprint.
Oh yeah. By the point I picked out, like I ran hard to a spot, and then I don't want you to think I'm running and I might have. Did I pause? I kind of shot mid run. I'm not exactly sure.
You kind of just did that whole, like, you hit your solid spot and boom. You got solid and shot.
Yeah, it's kind of a blur, but that one, she was running hard enough that she went elbows over tea kettle,
just folded.
Yeah, she just crumpled, and then Casey saw me. But the funny part was I was almost like, man, if I hadn't run and intersected her, she was on a beeline to you.
Yeah,
like she'd have run right in your lap.
You couldn't let that happen though.
No, but there was a part of me that's going, well, I just guided him on that. Right. If I'd have let that go. But
yeah, that's pretty good. What's funny is in a couple minutes later, I think it was maybe it was right before that. One way or the other, it was real close to that same time. The J-hook happened with, I think, 3 boars that were like 120-ish pounds. So they were like, the perfect size. They weren't fat and slow, and they weren't small and slow. They were rangy hogs that were pretty fast, I will say. But the J-hook happened, and so like I was not able to take the angle because the J-hook was played out, and they had gotten right behind me just a touch, and so they were headed dead away from where we just came from, down that way, and so I took off, and I ran a good 120 yards after these pigs, and I got to the point where like I ran like 30, 40 yards, and I was like, okay, I got around a tree and I saw them, and they were still the same distance, and I was like, I got to kick it in another gear here, so I hit into the next gear. And I'm pretty sure after that they did too, because it was like they got further. I was like, what in the world? I stopped after 120 yards. I was like, okay, I can't. It was the only time I've ever been outrun by pigs like that, man.
They hurt your feelings. I can tell.
It did, dude.
I can tell that hurt your feelings, man.
And that story after you guys told me you can run as fast as a pig.
I know, exactly.
I'm feeling like Superman now.
I mean, you might be.
So the other thing is that second pig I shot was... Well, 175, Casey, in that ballpark?
Probably something like that. She's a good-sized sow.
She was fat.
Yeah.
So I can run as fast as a fat pig, is what you're saying.
Well, that's why, here's something that ends up happening when you're doing this thing like this. We kind of had an anomaly where we ran into a lot of 1 and 2 pig groups. A lot of times you run into the ones like we did this morning where there's 12, 15 pigs in it. And you always end up killing the big ones if you bust them. It's because the big ones are the ones you can catch. If they're over 150 pounds, 200 pounders, you can catch those. But those ones like Tyler's saying, dude,
they're long, dude.
They can get it.
Yeah.
Those little ones can get it, man. And here's another thing that we didn't really get to exhibit because most of them are all big fat sows that we shot this week. But there's different body types of these pigs. And there are pigs that are kind of the short, fat ones, which is mostly what we shot this week. There's also some long-legged pigs that have a taller stature. And those pigs can cover ground faster than what those short ones can. So you want to talk about something you can't catch. Those longer-legged hogs, oh, man, they can run like a deer. They're quick.
It was just, those must have been the long-legged ones because they whooped me.
That's what I'd say.
Black legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we've caught them before, running around and stuff, and they were whooping me, man. And I'm not saying I'm nearly as fast as I used to be, but I will say this: I ran hard enough that I was dizzy afterwards. Like I was breathing so hard.
Did your left arm start hurting too?
Yeah, and I tried to do an interview and I couldn't talk, and so I was like, okay, hold on a second, just give me a minute here.
Might have been that double meat burger you got for lunch. Might have been part of why you were dizzy.
Might have been, man. By the way, I ate one of those Snickers ice creams. I don't know if you saw me get that at the convenience store earlier.
Yeah, you pointed at it. I didn't know what it was, but you looked pretty happy about it.
It's been a minute. It was good. It was good for sure. So
Brian, you do like all your hunting with a shotgun because you're a bird guy, right? It's just what you do. You shoot birds with shotguns. And then last night we were talking about going and doing there's this thing in Texas and I guess other places, but it's a Texas thing where people strap really expensive optics on top of usually AR platforms, and which does not stand for assault rifle. Anyone listening? Armor light rifle. And you go out at night, and it's called thermaling, right? So you use this thermal imaging sight to ride around and shoot pigs. And I know you're all about Second Amendment stuff, but you just didn't shooting something with a rifle just doesn't interest you in the least bit. Talk about that a little bit.
It doesn't. I don't know. It's been so long since I've picked up a rifle. Now I grew up in the Midwest. I started shooting with rifles, started with 22s, obviously, and worked my way up, and mainly on varmint and groundhogs. And, I'd snipe groundhogs from a long ways off with 223 long before there was an AR platform. I was just a bolt action, actually.
What's the best groundhog recipe?
Dude, that was before I was probably eating animals too, and that's not true.
You were a vegetarian as
I was a vegan actually. that I've transitioned into a meat eater.
Watch out, that's a patented word. So.
Yeah, who knows?
Apparently you can eat groundhog. You guys don't even call them groundhog down here.
We don't have groundhogs.
Yeah. I've never seen a groundhog that I know of.
Closest thing I've ever seen that's a marmot, and we don't have those either.
Yeah,
Colorado.
Yeah, groundhog. Well, it's like Groundhog Day. So I shot the Punxsutawney
When we
Phil.
had a-
Do you
when
have
we-
to wear the tall hat? when
Could
you-
we call them groundhogs if we've got hogs on the ground out here? Like after you shoot one, is it a groundhog?
We're going to start doing
All
that.
right, good.
See, I've started. It's come full circle. My life is
Groundhog!
complete.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, there is a recipe for groundhog. You don't want to shoot the old ones, and you want to get ones that are in clover and hay fields, and they taste pretty good. Apparently, I was never inclined that much. They always kind of smelled, and we looked at them as pests when I was growing up. It wasn't something that in our area you ate, although I suppose you could. I did try and head shoot most of them. That was the goal. Yeah, that's how I came up. It's not like I didn't come up shooting rifles and understanding them, but at some point, switch flipped in me. I don't know. Something went haywire, and I've only shotgunned for. Well, the only time I ever use rifles anymore is if I'm trying to teach a kid gun safety, and we'll start with 22s, and we start with pointing the guns in the proper direction. The reason you're using rifles in that scenario is because shotgun's a little big and a little more recoil and a little louder, and so you want to start at the lowest,
Is that per R3 protocol or?
I don't know what they say about teaching kids to shoot. I teach as many kids to shoot as I can, and anybody who asks, and adults, quite frankly. I don't know what the protocol is on it, but I do know that the reason we start there is just because it's just an easier thing to hold, and no recoil, and very little sound, and then we'll transition to small gauge shotguns, and then we'll transition to bigger gauge shotguns as size allows. But yeah, I mean, so I have shot rifles before. It's not like I don't know how to use a rifle, but I haven't shot a rifle besides a 22. Well, SHOT Show's a little bit of an exception. I shot a rifle out there one round, maybe 7 years ago. But other than that, maybe 18 years since I've shot a rifle. I've only shot shotguns. I have my primary carry shotgun, which is the 20 gauge that you guys have seen me shooting pigs with. Not that I haven't used other shotguns or wouldn't use other shotguns. It's just the one that's the extension of my body, so I'm comfortable with it. At some point, that thing's going to fall apart for reasons that you guys know. That gun's been through quite a bit, and then I'm going to have to find another extension.
Well, it's dainty. It's 5.5 pounds.
5.5 pounds, and I hate to know how many rounds have been through that gun and how many times I've fallen on it. I should show you. I didn't even show you the rib. I should have you look down that thing just if you were trying to aim at something.
Cool.
Because the rib in it is like there's like a big, big old U in it. Because one time I was coming down out of the mountains, and when you're hunting in some alpine terrain, I got a shotgun, and I don't have walking sticks, and I don't sling my gun for multiple reasons, but I don't like having slings on a shotgun. But I was coming downhill, and serious downhill, serious grade, and I stepped on a football-sized rock that I thought was planted. I just thought it was a bigger boulder. And after a long day hunting, and I was tired, and I step on this rock, and it comes out from under me. I had all my weight on one foot, and it came out from under me. So it was like you'd be on ice, like you're walking, and all of a sudden your legs come out from under you. And I was carrying my shotgun, and it was loaded and everything. But in that flash moment, where my feet were coming out from under me, and I was coming down this hill, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to stop. You have a choice to make whether you're going to save your ass by catching yourself in some regard, or whether you're going to try and keep your gun from getting scratched. And I'm telling you what, that gun flew. I let her go. I just was like, Jesus, take the wheel.
See ya.
And let that gun go. And I caught myself, and then I heard about 12 or 14 yards down the slope, and it was rocky terrain. The gun was just going clang, clang, clang. And it just was, just that raw sound of like breaking, and I'm like, ooh. But,
better than Jing Zhong, Jing Zhong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was way less racist than that, too. And coincidentally, that same rock that broke loose, FYI, it lands right in my kidneys. I land on it full force in my kidneys, and I'm 2.5 miles from a trail, way up. and it knocked me almost unconscious. Like I was seeing stars and I couldn't breathe, and I thought I was going to puke all at once. But I finally got my breath back. I was like, you know, that feeling after you get hit real hard.
Yeah.
And I got my breath back, and then I started feeling myself because I thought I was bleeding. Like it felt like I was just, you know, so I was wiping my body down. I was like, man, am I okay after that? And long story short, that's how the U came up in my shotgun. I went down there and I picked it up, and it was trashed. Like I had this big bend in the rib and all kinds of scratches on the stock. It's happened before. I throw my gun at least twice a year, and it's not out of anger. It just happens. I don't get angry on it anymore. Yeah. It just happens. But eventually I got down there and picked up that gun. I didn't have anything broke, and I want to tell you what, I was awake the rest of that hike. Oh my God. You want to talk? I went from just being this down. I was so tired, and I was like, oh man, I'm glad to, you know, kind of be heading back downhill. And I was kind of just like in a zone. Oh boy. I mean, that'll wake you up so fast. Because I just thought, man, if I'd have broke something, and at that point I didn't have, you know, no satellite messenger, no nothing. I just was out in the middle of by myself and no cell service.
So the mountains you've spent time in the mountains for a long time now.
Yeah.
But you never done it quite like you did this year? Was this year what you did a new thing?
Yeah, this year, and I talked to you guys a little bit about it earlier, but this year I decided at the beginning of the season that I wanted to try and take on some new challenges and test myself a little bit. And so I spent 30 days starting in September and bleeding a little bit into October, doing nothing but hunting 14,000-foot peaks in Colorado for upland game. And the 14ers in Colorado, 14ers, the highest peak you can get in the lower 48 is 14,006
or something like that.
I think it's 780 or something like that, somewhere in that ballpark. And there's 50.
Is that Whitney?
Yeah. There's 58 of them, I think, 57. Depends on how you classify them. They had to stand off by themselves a certain distance in order to classify as an independent peak. But there's like 58 of them in the lower 48. And for those of you who don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff, a lot of hikers try and what they call bag 14ers, which is summit as many 14ers as you can. In Colorado, that number's I can't remember the exact number. It's a high number. Most of them are in Colorado, but there's classes to them, 1 through 5. Anything up to Class 3 you can hike without gear. Class 4 you need gear to get to the top, hypothetically.
Gear being like climbing gear?
Climbing gear, ropes, carabiners, and the like, helmets for sure. And then Class 5 you need high level of skill plus gear, and still probably not for everyone, but I figured there were around 32 or 33 that are Class 3 in Colorado, Class 3 or below, which for everything I do, I take my dogs. My dogs are used to hunting in the mountains for the most part, so I'm confident in most scenarios that at a level 3 or below where we don't need gear, that my dogs aren't going to run off a cliff. It's not guaranteed. There's times I've been scared about it. But so that's what I did this year is I decided that we'd hunt nothing but 14ers. And the reason I did that actually is because these 14ers are really popular. Most of them are on public land. And I knew that we would encounter all kinds of people who aren't used to seeing people hunt. It's not something you go out and the average person doesn't go out and go, I want to go hunt birds on a 14,000-foot peak because some people will think this isn't true, won't believe this, but I'll say, okay, go try it. But strap on your bird vest and a shotgun and enough water for 2 dogs and 3 cameras, and go ahead and point yourself uphill on any 14er out there in Colorado and see what happens. So, there's plenty of people who can climb 14ers, and they do it all the time. And I saw all likes of people going out there and summiting 14ers. And
how many did you get?
So I wanted to do a huge number. I went very aggressive on the schedule. I was like, there's 30 of them. Let's try and do 30. And so the problem you've got in Colorado is the season for ptarmigan starts the second week of September, and then you can go until it basically snows. And in Colorado, it can start snowing at elevation
anytime, pretty much.
Into August. I mean, but, once you get a certain snowpack, the difficulties to get to the top of those mountains it exponentially increases in difficulty. So you're trying to hit this sweet spot on timing where you get there and get up enough before snow makes it very difficult. I won't say it's impossible, because I know there's guys out there who are doing it. They're probably out there climbing them right now. Like literally right now, there's some guy out there in Colorado. He's climbing to the top of a 14er and snow that's ungodly, and he's looking at stuff I do and going, that guy's a sissy, and he's right.
That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, you find that out while you're out there. Like, there are people passing me on these trails. I'm getting smoked by people, and I'm like, how are they doing this?
Yeah. 50-year-old ladies just smoking up those hills.
I passed easily a 50-year-old lady running up one.
Oh, yeah.
Running up a 14er. And she passed me coming back down, still smiling. I swear to God, she was smiling on the way up and smiling on the way back down, and she'd run to the top. I actually stopped her because I wanted to know. I was like, okay, I got to know.
What are you smoking? Is what you were asking.
And she's like, yeah, every day. She's like, no, 1 or 2 times a week I'll come, because it's in an area where they're pretty prevalent. She's like, I'll go run up this one or that one. Like, she just does it. It's just something she's got in her head, and she's confident in it. And so you don't know what people are up against. And what I've said and what I was you get comfortable with the fact that people are different, their goals are different, and how they are coming at these mountains are different. And so, you can't, it's not about necessarily comparing yourself to what somebody else is doing, but it's hard not to in some regards, because you're like, Jesus, how are they making this happen when I'm struggling?
So you met a bunch of people, and that was kind of a big part of your story, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
So the 14ers that are closest to the populated areas, Denver, mainly, or that corridor up.
Colorado Springs.
Colorado
stuff.
Springs.
Yeah.
They those 14ers are the ones that are frequented the most from people who live in the city, and they go and they want to climb a 14er and check it off their list. And so they'll, the first one we went to, which is you can look it up on the map. It's just west of Denver a little ways. It's Grays and Torreys. It's just a combination peak. There's 2 different 14ers potentially on the same hike, and we showed up there on a weekend morning to do that first 14er, and there was a traffic jam to get to the parking lot, just following a stream of. We were there before sunrise, and we were just following a stream of lights up this 2-track to get to this parking lot. And we get up to the parking lot, there had to be 150 cars.
Goodness.
At the trailhead, and they were coming in behind us, and. I just unpacked the dogs, and so
you pulled your gun out.
I pulled my gun out. Yeah. So there's an interesting thing there with the dogs, though, is that most people who are doing these national forests or doing the trails are used to leash laws, or what they would call leash laws. They're technically not laws. On national forest land, it's recommended that you keep your dog's leash for any various reasons, but it's actually, the regs don't say leashed. It says under control, or voice control, or leash, I believe is what it says in the regs. But the truth is most people are not accustomed to seeing dogs running wild. So when you have dogs loosed essentially on a trail, because all of these places, so you could hike a lot of these summits off trail. You could go off trail and, pick a path and just point it uphill and go. The issue is that the energy it takes to expend off trail versus using a trail, which you guys know this from hunting elk or anything else in a mountainous region. Why do game animals use the same trail? It's because the energy expenditure on a trail is way less than it is busting your own route.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're trying to get to the top, even when you're hunting, I mean, using that trail is a good thing. Yeah. But so on that first hike, we passed 150 people probably, either going up or coming down. Every one of them. So in those scenarios, I don't have because I've got a break action shotgun. The shotgun's generally open. Most times it's not loaded. The chances of us seeing birds in that scenario, not good, because birds are just like any other wild animal. You get enough people around them, they don't want anything to do with that, right? So they move off elsewhere for the most part. And that's not 100% true, because ptarmigan don't recognize people as predator in most scenarios, especially not at that elevation. But yeah, we passed just tons of people, got all kinds of engagement, people asking crazy questions. Most people, no idea that the mixed mandate for national forest land, that this is a place that you can hunt. Most of them never ever seen. I can't tell you how many people have said after I got done talking to them, we hiked all kinds of 14ers, never seen anybody with a shotgun out here. I get it.
Yeah,
I understand. That's why I'm here. I mean, I want to kill birds too. Don't get me wrong. I want to kill birds too, and I want to see awesome things. I'm going to see awesome things no matter what, because we're hiking a 14er. I can tell you that it's some of the craziest stuff you're ever going to see as far as, beautiful country. You guys have hunted out there, but when you get on top of some of those mountains that feel like they're on top of the mountains, the mountains that are actually at the top of the mountains, you go, whoa.
Yeah.
Stuff's got crazy.
Well, you said really weird questions. What was the weirdest question?
Wow. Well. So one of the weird ones. I don't know if it's the weirdest. I might have to really think on that, because there's some really wacky ones. The prevalent weird question was, there's a couple. Actually, there's a couple, but I'll tell you the most weird one probably was, and I got this from multiple people, is, are you shooting clays up there? And like they think that I'm hauling a shotgun to the top of the mountain to shoot clays off of, and I verify for them, no, that wouldn't be legal at all. That's not only is that littering, and especially in national forest land, you can only target shoot in designated areas, and a lot of, if you've spent time in national forests out west, a lot of people don't abide by that rule, and it makes for a trash zone in national forests, which is a criminal in some regards. It happens a lot in arid western national forest, Nevada, New Mexico. I can't tell you how many places that people believe that just because it's national forest is a shooting range. But so people thought I was shooting clays from the top. No, I assured them of that. And then the other thing in Colorado, there was a big story, I guess it was probably 2 years ago, where somebody had hiked one of the high peaks out there. It might have been Beardstadt or one close in by Denver, where there are goats, and they had shot a couple of goats. Which, for those of you who don't know, the guys who listen to this podcast are going to understand that a mountain goat draw in a state like Colorado is a once-in-a-lifetime draw, or maybe twice if you're lucky. It's a lot. I don't necessarily know where the points were, because I'm not a big game hunter, but I'm assured by many of other people that I talk to that a mountain goat hunt in that state is something that's...
it's coveted, and if you're from out of state, you don't get to do it very often, if ever at all.
Right. Yeah. So we saw lots of mountain goats, by the way, while we're out there. It's a bonus, and the weird thing about those animals, the same way, is they don't generally look at people as predators, so you can get probably danger close to them. Like, you shouldn't be that close to an animal. And my dogs are always fascinated by mountain goats. I do not let my dogs run mountain goats, by the way.
I bet you that mountain goat would tear up a dog.
Well, I saw a dog run a mountain goat, and on this hunting trip, not, I can't specifically say which mountain it was, but I remember watching. There was it was a mixed breed, but it had some shepherd in it, and she didn't have it under voice control, and
apparently,
and it took off running after a group of them. And the thing is a mountain goat can gap a dog so easily in that terrain.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even a. But what the Fish and Game is concerned about, and understandably so, is they don't want those animals to be stressed by. They already got a hard enough life, so they don't want them stressed by other stressors that don't need to happen. So that's why obviously it's frowned upon if your dog runs a mountain goat. But I can tell you, your dog ain't going to kill a mountain goat. Not even in no way. No way it's going to happen. My old lab, which he ain't along on this trip, but he's 11 now, but we hunted in Nevada one year, and he saw some goats, pretty high elevation. like real high. It's the funniest thing. He thought maybe I can close in on him. Mm-hmm. He wasn't running hard. He was even old back then, but he's like, I'm going to go check these things out. And we were coming to a sheer wall, like just as vertical as you can possibly think of. Like there's no way. And these goats just walked right up a sheer wall, like took a side hill thing, but it's as vertical as you can think. It's just almost straight up, and then it was a group of 5, 2 adults and three kids, I guess is what you call little ones. But they just walked diagonally and just walked right up this hill, and my lab kind of sauntered up to where they were, and he looked at me and he's like, what are they doing?
What are those things?
What is that?
Are those furry birds?
And that dog understands the language. And I was like, dude, we don't hunt those. And then he's like, all right, we don't hunt those. He turned around and he did the same thing with moose in Utah. We came up on some moose at high elevation in Utah, like crazy, out in the middle of nowhere, and he started running towards him at first, and he looked back at me and I was like, don't you dare, dude.
Stomp you.
Don't you dare, dude. And he's like, all right, I won't do that.
Yeah. So when y'all are up on top of those mountains, like is summiting like the goal? Do you make sure and summit every 14er you're on, or are you just up there hunting, and if the summit is feasible, do you do it?
Well, that's the goal. Part of the goal, it was multi-pronged goal this year, is I wanted to summit with the dogs. I also wanted to shoot birds up there, but summiting was definitely part of what we wanted to do, and I had it in my head because I trained so hard leading up to it. I had it in my head that I should be able to. Like this isn't something. For me, when I first started, it wasn't something that I questioned. Could I do it? It was always, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it to all these because I've set this goal and I've trained so hard to do it, and I think that this is something I'm going to do. And then that was the weird. It was part of the weirdness of this trip in general. Is I learned. Early on, because I had this goal to summit, like I said, 30, and it was aggressive. That was hyper aggressive. And I didn't think I'd probably hit 30, but I thought I'd hit a good number. But I learned early on that you can't, it's not necessarily going to come around that way. And it messed me up in the head for a little while because I had, in that way, I had thought about it for a little while, and I was like, on the hill, I'd gotten to within 500 vertical feet of this summit, and I was at this time of year when you're climbing, storms build in the afternoons, and the last thing you want to do is get caught out on it above tree line when you're holding a lightning rod in your hand and you're the only tall thing of metal that's out there. It's like a dangerous scenario. But besides the fact that there's hypothermia involved in there, not that we don't carry gear that could compensate for some of that, but it can be a dangerous scenario. So you're supposed to be headed downhill. So the storms, you can watch them build around you, but on this particular one where I was early on in the month, and I still felt really good, and I felt like I just had this, that I was dead set. I was going to make it to the top of these mountains. Like there was nothing that was going to stop me. This was going to be what I was doing, and we got to within 500 vertical, and I had gotten off trail in this really wacky space of car-sized boulders, just super jaggedy stuff, and I've got both the dogs with me at that point. And I had split off from the guys who were with me because they just weren't there yet. They hadn't trained. They weren't expecting to summit. Some of the people that come out, we weren't expecting to summit. They were expecting to hunt, and if they could get to the top, that's great. If they didn't, that's okay too. But everybody knew that I was trying to get to the top. But I got to the space, and I was sitting there, and the wind was hurling around me, and these car-sized boulders, and I can't see a trail. And basically what I'm having to do is I'm having to either pry the dogs or throw the dogs up the next boulder and then climb over it and just keep doing that. And I knew I was only 500 vertical from the top, but I couldn't see the top. I thought it was a false summit, but I couldn't tell where the summit was. I just knew that I had distance, and I knew there was 500 vertical that I had left to go. And you get to that point, and we'd hiked for 6 hours at that point, and you just go, I'm 500 feet away. I'm literally 500 feet away, and it hit me, man. I can't do it, and it was brutal. I mean, I was like, literally, I was right there at the edge of tears, man, because I was like, and even now it's bringing it back.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, man, this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah,
like, I should be able to will myself to the top. Like, it's 500 vertical feet. That's nothing. We've come 3,000 vertical to this point. I can't quit here. I quit.
Yeah.
Because I looked around and I go, the storms are building. I look around my environment. There's no trail. And for me to get to that last 500 feet with the dogs and enough water to get out of there and feeling like I'm going to have any level of safety, I'm not going to be able to do it. And I don't know what the exertion level would have taken to get me from there to the top and then get me the hell out safely. But it was a judgment call. And then I kicked myself the rest of the way back down. I mean, a 4-hour hike out of, did I make the right decision? Because the last thing I want to do is have a dog or 2 dogs that I have to carry, which is almost an impossibility. Like, it's just brutal. But it's those moments, and that's what I think that's what I learned more than anything else on this trip is there's, like, I was so driven and focused on what I thought the goal was and what I thought this was about, and then nature turns it on you. Like, that's what's interesting about it to me. Like, now it's interesting. At that point, it was distressing and it was reality changing for me because it's rare for me to be in a scenario where I don't feel like I could will myself to do something. I just don't feel it's, it's just not something I find myself in. That may hit people wrong when they hear that, but it's just not something that. But so what I learned was like this is when I go into this thinking this is about one thing, and then it changes entirely, and it's not about going to the summits anymore. Although we went to a lot of summits. This was like on the second or third one in is when I learned this. When I was like, man, this can't be about that, because that's some false meter that you put in your head that isn't really what you're about. It's what you've placed in your head from somebody's outside perspective, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to describe, and I probably haven't even fully processed it. But yeah, I mean, it just, I went in thinking I'm going to do 30, and I'm going to do 30 because I trained my ass off to get to this level of fitness, and because there's nobody who can tell me I can't do it, and there's nothing that's going to stop me. And then you learn, oh no, there's lots of stuff that's going to stop me. Like there's stuff that's well beyond my control. And then what you start going on after that is, so what I figured out is there's this intersection out there, and the way I describe it, of what your physical capabilities are and what your mental capacity is. And most people never let their brain turns them back long before you ever get to what your physical limit is. Yeah. That your brain is so powerful that it turns you around before you can cross out over that and get out in the danger zone.
Yeah.
But out there, the challenge is how close can you run it? I mean, and that's what I was like, okay, well, that day, I don't know. I'll never get it back. I'll never get that moment back to know whether or not I turned around too early. But if you turn around too late, then that's when real stuff happens.
You don't get to turn around anymore.
That's when real stuff happens, man. Like not that I wouldn't have made it out of there. I had backup involved, and I probably would have made it out of there, but I could have
gotten fried on the mountain.
Could have gotten fried. You could have up there. There's three things that burn you, which is hydration, energy, and oxygen, and they're all three going against you. At 14,000 feet, the oxygen density is 26 or 27% less than what it is at sea level. So all those things are kind of working on you, and they can work on you, together. You don't know what necessarily you're trying to give all three. You're trying to take deep breaths. You're trying to feed yourself. You're trying to hydrate yourself, but you don't necessarily know what the right mix is. It's because there's a chemistry thing, and then a brain thing goes against you too. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. I found it was all interesting. So to answer your question, we ended up trying to hike 15 different peaks, and I made it to the top of 10 or 11, I believe. I honestly, it got to the point where I stopped counting because that's how much the goal changed. At first, I thought it was about this number, and then I just thought it was about, well, it's not about a number anymore. And then it's just about being, about surviving. It's about doing and being in it. And there were times actually I could have summited and I just turned around because I was like, I don't want it to be that. I don't want it to be a number. I don't want it to be a check mark.
It's kind of like the guy. There's a lot of guys. It's a real trendy thing to talk about a 3-man limit or whatever. You know what I mean? In waterfowl, especially. And guys will stay out until noon trying to get their limit, and I'm like, man, it's not fun when you sit there for 2 hours and don't see a bird fly. At that point, let's just go eat some breakfast and have a good time, guys, because that's what it's about, right? It's not about this limit, and it's kind of the same kind of concept here. Is like, you look at what, like you said, the outside world is going to project on you and say, if I don't summit this, then I'm weak, or there's nothing to say about this. You know what I mean?
It's somebody else's meter for success.
Yeah.
We in Upland, we see the same thing with limits, and I see it a lot in waterfowl. We can talk about party hunting all you want, but we won't. FYI, anybody who's out there shooting ducks in a duck blind with a bunch of people and you're shooting a group limit, that's illegal. Just for your own sake, but whatever. Do what you want to do. I'm not the game warden. I'm just going to tell you that you're shooting somebody else's ducks and you're a Sally. But a long time ago,
can't spell hypocrisy without REI. Right? We're going to tell the truth here.
That's right.
A long time ago, and I say a long time ago, my theories on hunting have changed as well over the years, and writing especially. But probably when I first started writing, and I went back and I'm working on a story right now how this all kind of came about for me. But I started writing in journals, and it was just for my friends and I. We'd go, 1 or 2 upland hunts a year, and I, at the end of the day, I'd go to the campground and I'd write down just what happened during the day, and in those journals, and I went and just picked one of them up. It was from 2002, and I was reading it, and it's my handwriting, which is atrocious, but so it's hard to even read that, but it's harder to read it because in those journals, I'm talking about limits or shooting. What numbers of birds we shoot. And if anybody, pays attention to anything I do now, whether that's my, videos or my writing, it's probably been 6 years since I've mentioned anything about limits, shooting a limit. The truth is if you read my writing now, you'd be hard pressed to even know whether I shot anything, probably. Because
I really. That's why I've asked you several times on this trip we've spent together. I've been like, so in the mountains, did you shoot any ptarmigan? Because you don't see a whole lot about it, man. It's tough to.
I know.
Which probably is tough to make headway with what you do,
I decided a while back that if we were talking about limits, that it was exactly that, limits. It was somebody else's definition of what success was. It was the state's rudimentary determination of what a successful hunt was the limit of birds you could shoot. And I find that to be a false narrative, that is something that has been a detriment to hunting in general. I understand why limits are in place, and I understand why states do it. I don't want to have anything to do with limits. You will never hear me ever tell you I have shot a limit. Period. I won't say it. I'll joke with you about shooting a limit of hogs.
I was fixing to say. I remember you saying that yesterday.
Because I don't know what the limit of hogs is. Nobody knows that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say it's something it grinds on me that we will allow somebody else to define the success of a hunt. And so a number of years back, I started saying, and something I've always said is that we define success beyond the heft of the game bag. I don't talk about the birds I shoot. If you want to see dead birds, go watch some jackass do it on YouTube at a preserve. I mean, that's fine, but don't act like you've accomplished something. Don't act like that's success. The thing that grinds me on social media now is much like you. It's beyond even a 3-man limit. If you have guys go to preserves and wherever, and at the end of the day, they'll line their birds up either in a number or they'll just stand atop them. Like, I mean, hell, I saw a post from one of our wonderful television personalities. He must have been standing on top of 150 pheasant. Now, first of all, party hunting for pheasant is legal in some states. I find it offensive as hell. Once again, if you're going to shoot somebody else's pheasant, that's just a joke, man. Like, literally, you know what you should be doing in that scenario? If you've shot your limit of pheasant, you should break your gun open, and every time that your buddies miss, you should laugh and have a good time and just keep walking and make that day go. Don't shoot their pheasant for them. But to get back to it, so when one guy stands on top of 150 pheasant and takes a picture of himself and posts it on social media, everybody who's been a pheasant hunter understands that he's either standing atop a 25 people's limit or he's at a preserve, and we understand that. The problem is that the people who aren't hunters look at that guy and go, that dude, and I'm only saying that for your listeners, I call him something way worse than that. He just killed 150 pheasant, and he's just leaving them there to die, or just leaving them there to rot. He's not doing anything. He's cheering for this. The slaughter of 150 birds, pen-raised birds no less, for the most part. And so it distorts what hunters of wild animals do. It degrades, in my opinion, it degrades upland birds more than anything else. It devalues them. Like, people don't look at upland birds and go, wow, that's a special thing. It's because Benny, what's his name, can go stand on top of 150 birds, and it makes it look like it's just a pile of garbage. Yeah. You know what? If you're an upland guy and you're out there and you shoot a limit, congratulations. You know what? You've accomplished something, especially for wild birds. But you know what I'd tell you to do? My advice would be to do. You don't have to listen to me, because what do I know? But my advice always is to people who are new to hunting or that I'm with is, don't show yourself with your limit of birds and say anything about a limit. Hold one of those birds in your hand proudly, not by the neck like you're trying to choke it out, not by the feet or by a single toe like it's gross, like you're ashamed of what you've done. Put that bird in your hands, feel its warmth, feel its feathers, stretch its wings out, and take a picture of that. Show people that you respect this animal, so that people realize it. It's important.
Well, we talked about it at lunch, man. I mean, we're so close to, at any moment, just not being able to have this privilege anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there are things that could happen very quickly that would take hunting away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's states that are at the edge of it now. I mean, we don't have to list them, because KC can list them for us.
Can I?
It's definitely not Texas, right?
You like to talk about left and right.
Yeah, no kidding. New Jersey, I'm sure, is on the list.
But I mean, there are states where the vast majority, even more than just the populace in the United States, but where hunters are a fraction of a fraction. And
so this is your goal though. Like you said and you've had a lot of time to, and you're very introspective about this. You've had a lot of time to think about this kind of thing because you've been doing this a long time. But your goal first, kind of first and foremost when you started doing this, you said was kind of this whole like, kind of almost like a cliche thing. Is that wrong to say that? Like where it was like, at least now it's a cliche thing. It may not have been when you were saying this, but like
I think it was a cliche then too.
Yeah,
probably.
well, just like, help me to kind of verbalize what it was and then what it is, I guess.
Well, I think the default answer for anybody who's in this business, we call it the outdoor business or the hunting business if you want, because it is a business. And the default answer most people give is, "What are you doing this for? What are you in this for?" And I just want to promote the sport for other people. Is the default answer. I just want to promote this to get other people, involved in hunting. And I've thought about that a lot, and it's kind of would have been my default answer too. I think honestly, there's a part of me that the word sport grinds on me. I don't know if it grinds on you guys.
When you said that, I was like, I don't like that. But then I started thinking about how like Upland is a little bit more sporting than some of the other stuff that we do.
I don't know that it's necessarily more sporting. I think that there guys that think about it a lot don't like. This is more than sports is entertainment, and this is entertaining to us. But this is more lifestyle oriented, if you will. For us, it's it is a life. It's what we do. So sport grinds on us because it makes it seem like it's
for play.
It's not for keeps. I think that's probably why the word sport grinds on us. But I think it's still used a lot in the industry. So I don't necessarily
Well, we're called sportsmen. So what are you going to do? But I think a lot of this, especially in your world, like a lot of this is like the hunting culture still is something that leaked over from the European style of doing things, right? So like that's where that sportsman thing comes from. That's where tower shoots come from, right? Like, and that's like there's a whole reason that we came to the United States and we dumped a bunch of tea in the harbor, right? So like we're trying to get.
Did you do that personally?
Yes.
Because I've been wanting to get one of those guys' autographs for a long time.
I'll write you one in a second. Go get a lifting box. But no, like we're trying to get rid of that culture since the late 1600s in some way, shape, form, or fashion, the lordships and all that stuff, right? So why are we hanging on to some of that stuff?
Why are we hanging on to some of that stuff? Some of the pompous vibe it permeates Upland quite a ways is because some of that still exists.
I'll look at that. So can I tell you a story right quick and then you can continue?
Yeah, go.
So I never played golf much of my life because I felt like there was a very pomp, if you will, the singular form of being pompous. The pomp was very, intrinsic in golf, right? And that's what I always thought. And then I gave it a shot in high school and really liked it. And then I went to the golf course one day and tried to play by myself. And wouldn't you know, some guy pulls up and says, "You hit into us." It's like, well, you're playing slow as Christmas. What am I supposed to do? Sit here for 30 minutes while y'all look at this ball, And so like it kind of was self-fulfilling, that's how it was. And that's almost, I feel like how before I met you, really, I kind of thought of Upland hunting kind of like that. Like it was a couple of, some uppity people with their traditions and their unwritten rules and all this stuff out there, So,
we're still pretty uppity. I'm pretty uppity. That's why I can't. Actually, we'll get back to why I came to pig hunt is because I had to prove that I might be able to kill a pig. We like to put ourselves in an elitist space. I think. I don't. That is the European roots and this whole idea of the monarchy shooting the birds while the peasants drive them. And it's definitely I won't say that it's not rooted in that. I think I'm probably elitist in a little bit different way. But you guys might perceive it in the same way. Elitist amongst upland hunters, there's a whole there's reaction against it, against the perceived elitism, in the hipster uprising within Upland, I'll call it, where
There's
Does that just mean
hipsters
you
in
wear?
Upland?
Does that mean you just wear a funky hat when you go upland hunting as opposed to normal?
And plaid. Brand new plaid and a funky hat. You got to have a beard. Generally, you take a pipe with you.
I'm still struggling. I can't hardly believe that there are hipsters that upland hunt.
Well, I don't know that I'd necessarily call them hunters, but
Oh, okay.
I'll take that back.
Our
Hipsters.
300 work right here.
That's it. You're allowed to hunt like that, you hipsters. I'm okay with you doing it. It don't mean I'm not going to make fun of your pipe. I'm going to, and the beard wax you got going on or whatever that is, you can have that too. But I'm going to make fun of you. But it's okay to do it that way. They've got a whole other vibe going. It's not, and they like to believe that they're the anti-elitist, but the truth is unless you subscribe to the way they hunt, which is the pipe, the beard, and the plaid, then then you're not fitting what their mold is.
I mean, that's kind of how, if you want to look at the broad picture. The public land push is supposed to be the anti-establishment, but it's become an establishment. There's just establishments on both ends.
Yeah.
It's just polarized now. Those guys are just as pomp about any
Snobbery.
And we get messages from time to time like, you guys used to hunt public all the time, and now you're hunting private. It's like, dude, we're just hunting where there's deer and animals.
Just
and
been
stuff.
getting permission,
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's all land. There's all critters there.
Yeah.
I'm one of those public land snobs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I wave that over people all the time, but I have hunted on private land, and I will hunt on private land.
I know. We ate at a barbecue restaurant that was on private land today, and Brian was a little bit weird the whole time we were there.
I didn't feel quite right about it. I was like, I'm gonna go sit here on the sidewalk while I eat.
There's some raw pork in the back of this truck. I'm gonna go eat.
It's funny. So you guys see this a lot, probably in your space too. But there's a whole segment of people out there who are now the police who go, we can't have disagreement in hunting because if y'all disagree and we're arguing amongst ourselves, that's how we lose. That if we're divided, then we will be conquered. Because conquered, we are divided, we are conquered. And you aren't allowed to argue with the way somebody hunts, because if they're doing it legal, then it's good. If it's legal, it's good.
Because we want to let the government establish our morals for us.
So if you kill a pig with a spear, it's legal, and you aren't allowed, nobody is allowed to criticize that person because it's legal.
Except Under Armour. They can criticize because they make billions of dollars.
Listen, I'm one of these guys that's like, let her rip. If you're doing something I view as absolutely ridiculous and stupid, I'm going to call you on it. If that's party hunting, I'm going to call you all day long, and twice on Sunday, I'm going to call you out on party hunting. Now, it's legal to party hunt pheasant. I don't care. You're still a POS. Don't do it. It's stupid. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. But, apparently I'm not allowed to say that out loud, because if I say that out loud, then I'm being divisive. No, we need to have these conversations in the hunting community. I need to talk to you guys about the fact that you shouldn't be party hunters. You can push back going,
So I've got a rebuttal. You got a rebuttal?
Kind of.
Okay, so here's my rebuttal.
It's not really a rebuttal.
I'm not
it's a thought.
disagreeing with you, but here's the way I look at stuff. And maybe you can help. Maybe you can explain it to me differently. My concept with party hunting, I don't do that a lot because I don't shoot birds a lot. Here's the deal. You were talking about limits earlier as if it's something established by the government to determine success. To me, I look at a limit as something that is the number I can reach for meat acquisition. And after that, I no longer can continue on with meat acquisition. That's why I asked you this trip, like what state can you shoot the most pheasants in one day? What has the biggest bag limit? Because I don't think of it as I'm going to go shoot 4 because it's awesome to shoot 4 pheasants. It is. It's also awesome to shoot 2, but I think of it as I can take a 3-day trip to South Dakota where you can shoot, I don't really know, but just say, hypothetically, South Dakota where you can shoot 4, and in those 3 days I can come home with 12 birds as opposed to 9 from a different place.
And make 3 or 4 meals out of it.
Yes, exactly. So it's more meals.
Yeah.
So that's why limits are cool to me. And maybe if it's legal to party hunt, I would want to do it because maybe this guy over there's got the hot hand today, and we all get to come home with more food.
No.
But okay, so before you, I don't even have to say it before you talk, but I'm going to. I guess I'm sorry. Okay, so
Our show.
this is not rebuttal or anything necessarily, but I would say that I'm with you and on board. I think that we should have these discussions, right? But calling people a POS might be a little bit over top, right?
So that's why I get blackballed and you guys don't.
Yeah.
I should not personally attack you for party hunting.
Okay.
But
You shouldn't, because I have the high ground right now. You shouldn't do that.
That's right. So when I actually call you a POS, it makes me the wrong one, right?
Yeah.
I try to get better about calling people a POS.
Yeah.
I just do it in private on podcasts now. So FYI, if you're out there party hunting, I'm thinking it, but I won't say it to you out loud. I'll say it to you on social media, maybe.
No, but here's my deal, okay? Because of all this media that we talked about that went on, I don't even know if we said this on the podcast or off the podcast here at this point, but we talked about how this may have been at lunch, but for like 20 years, there has just been piles of 30-minute blast sessions with the biggest deer that you could ever imagine, and the most birds out of any preserve, but we don't tell
Fallen
anybody.
skies, baby.
Yeah, we don't tell them that it was killed at preserve, whatever. And in all honesty, the more money you have, the better your hunting can be. You can buy success in one way or another almost always. You know what I mean? The guys that are Joe Regular or whatever you want to call them that are killing limits, they're probably doing it right and taking time to, learn the animals that they're after and that kind of thing. But my point, that's kind of beside the point. So my point is that when we're seeing all this stuff over the years, and we have grown up in that culture, and I'll be honest that because of that, and maybe I just want to blame that on it, but it's not every dude's MO to just be so introspective about everything that they do. They just kind of do it sometimes, you know what I mean? So because of that, culture can kind of shape certain people. I mean, you're very well thought out, and I don't think that everybody that listens to this podcast is going to be like you in that manner. So my point is, there were times in my life, and when you're talking about shooting groundhogs and stuff, we just didn't really think about it. It's just something that, Dad told you to go out and shoot some groundhogs or whatever,
sure.
Or hey, the woodpeckers are knocking holes in the house. If you kill one, I give you $5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I just think that there are people out there that are party hunting that just they haven't ever thought about it, and they don't know any different. And I don't think that I think if they thought about it, they might change their mind. You know what I mean?
100%. I have an interesting segue from exactly what you say. I've been accused in recent times of making every hunt a religious experience, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's that I overthink this in some regards. That's a knock on me, quite frankly. Other people are like, it's not that big a deal. But my rebuttal to that is this: that if we don't make this a big deal, if this isn't a big deal, if this doesn't mean something, then it's going away.
Sure.
And I finished an article by saying this, that if I think the knock on me was sometimes this is just about shooting birds. If this is just shooting birds,
it can be replaced quickly.
We're in trouble.
Yeah.
This has to be more than just shooting birds. This has to be and maybe I hold myself, as the line on this. I understand, you're out here whacking squirrels,
Yeah.
I'm cool. I've shot squirrels in my life. Mm. You don't see me whacking squirrels. It's not because I don't, it's just, I have to mentally make myself go, this is specifically why I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. I need that. I need to point to that and go, this is not just because you can throw a squirrel in a crock pot and it's a meal, and I respect that 1,000%. You didn't see me. I wasn't screaming, "Don't shoot that squirrel!" Mm-hmm. I was just standing back, going, "Okay."
Right under the tree. Right under the tree.
Right. This is a squirrel hunt. But my brain was in pig hunt land.
Yeah.
Like, this is because for me, this has to be. So, I have a big concern if this is just killing, fill in the blank, deer. If this is just killing deer, if this is just killing pigs, if this is just killing pheasant, if this is only about killing and not thinking about it, what the broader repercussions are outside of the hunting community, because we talk to the hunting community a lot. This is who our audiences are for the most part. We're talking to hunters. And so in some regards to hunters, it is just about killing, for the most part. But if it is, then we're going to have to question. You have to at some point get to a stage where you question yourself, because if we aren't questioning ourselves on this, there's plenty of other people out there that are throwing questions out there. So this is where the disagreement thing gets into. We can get back to the party hunting thing or not, but for me, if we can't disagree and internally argue, if I can't point at you and go, whatever, like that's ridiculous. If I can't do that and we can't have that discussion, believe me, there are 10 times the number of people than just me looking at you outside of the hunting community who are going, that's ridiculous. Not only is that ridiculous, that's offensive. Mm-hmm. That's brutally offensive. And they're going to turn on you. Mm-hmm. You better have an answer for me internally.
Wait, so
me ripping you for party hunting internally as a hunter, there's way more people out there that look at you and go.
So do you think there's people out there? So I don't know this, and maybe I need to be more in touch with the non-hunting community. But there's people out there. If you said, "Hey, me and my friends went and we shot 16 ducks today, and that was our limit is 3 guys," or what? I don't know the numbers, right? You think there's people who are like, wait, so some of you shot 3 and some of you shot 6, and that's still your limit? You think there's people that think that's bad?
I think that people. So you're focusing on the limit board, but I'm going to go to this.
That's what party hunts are for. Otherwise,
I'm focusing on the number.
Otherwise, we're party hunting today with pigs. If it's not limit
I think there's people out there that went. You shot 16 ducks today. You and your. Why did you shoot 16 ducks today? You can't eat 16 ducks. You can't eat 16 ducks today. Why'd you shoot 16 ducks today? I think that's what's out there. I think that's exactly what's out there. Also, there's a gap in this for people that don't understand. Like literally, one of the other giant questions you asked about, crazy questions that I get.
Yeah.
The biggest question I always get is, do you eat them? Anybody outside of what we do doesn't realize, because you don't show it on social media half the time. I don't show every bird that I shoot being butchered by me and the feathers being saved by me. And
Facebook flags them as inappropriate when you show the butchering.
Well, right, you can't show meat.
Yeah.
I actually showed a picture on Instagram. I had a pheasant that I had skinned. Essentially, it looked just like a chicken sitting in the weeds.
Yeah.
Like I had cut, basically I butchered it the whole way. So the bird was just there. It just looked like a chicken. But I had some of the feathers sitting to the side, and they flagged it because it was inappropriate for viewership. And if I'd have gone to the market and bought a chicken and put it right in the same place, it would have been the same thing. But so there's a disconnect on the feeding thing. But yeah, I do think that disconnect in general fuels a lot of bad information. A lot of people do know that hunters eat what they shoot, but I can tell you that there is a mass number of people who do not have any clue, and you think that's ridiculous, and I know you believe that's ridiculous. I can tell you it exists because it's one of the biggest questions we get is, do you eat them? And of course, I have to reinforce that we eat everything, but the people that ask it, and then that there's people that aren't asking it, they just immediately are going, that guy just shot that thing and he's leaving it there.
Mm-hmm. So how do you educate? I mean, here, let me just tell you, somebody comes up to me and I have a belief, and then somebody who feels strongly differently about that belief comes up and says, no, you're wrong. I'm not going to believe them, right? So if I walk up to somebody who thinks that hunters don't eat their stuff and tell them, no, I eat everything, they don't believe me. They don't believe I've done my due diligence and what they think I should do with it. So how do we show it? How do we prove ourselves, and how do we justify our existence?
Well, our guys, the people in social media, and I've been preaching it, but the disconnect can be overcome in a social media or in a content creation portion by talking more about it, by showing those pictures, even if they do get flagged.
Well, who do our platforms reach?
Hunters.
Yeah, we talked about this
But that's
earlier.
not necessarily true. So I did an article a while back. So you've got a lot of friends who are followers who have a lot of friends who are followers that may or may not be hunters. And when they like your stuff, Facebook, at least it used to, not necessarily so much anymore. But when they would like something that you posted, then it would show up in their feed as something they liked. Lots of people who may or may not be hunters.
Yeah.
And so that way in social, it was broadening our exposure to people who weren't necessarily part of So what I'm doing on Instagram when I'm out hunting, you'll see my tags, my hashtags. I'm using hashtags that talk more broadly about what I'm doing, which is getting outside or wild places or even wildlife, hiking. Even though I'm carrying a shotgun, I'm trying to make sure.
Public land's proud.
Public land's proud. It's out there all the time. Out there all the time. That's all we do. But yeah, so I'm using tags that are not speaking necessarily to the core audience. Quite frankly, I mean, I don't read a lot of what other upland hunters write and honestly, I see what they post because I'm friends and followers with other upland hunters, but I don't want that to impact my vision of what this is. So I don't follow it closely. I care less about what other hunters think about me and more about what other people think about me. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm obsessing over it because there's still going to be a lot of people who disagree with what I do, no matter what I do. To your exact point, is they may not believe me anyways. But I think if I'm consistent with how I'm hunting and how I'm presenting it, and I'm trying to be respectful of broader views, even though I call some people POS. I'm only calling hunters that. I'm not calling non-hunters.
Right. Y'all are great non-hunters. We love you.
So, I'm trying to be consistent in the message and making sure that what people see is true to what my vision of what this is. And my vision is convoluted and shifting and incomplete and flawed, I'm sure. And hey, somebody come preach to me about where that's going to happen. You're going to have a hard time convincing me, probably. Although you guys convinced me to pig hunt, it wasn't really something that was probably high on my list of things to do. But my justification for that is pigs are just big birds that can't fly.
So we gotta get out in the woods pretty soon here if we're gonna get one more round.
Yeah.
But
one more party hunt.
One more party hunt.
No, I'm splitting off from you guys.
Yeah, unguided upland. So I guess my question in regards to what you just said is. You said, I think you said this in the podcast, I'm so lost now. We've had such a long conversation today, but you were talking about how you've worked in the corporate world before.
Yeah.
And you came out of that, you're doing this now, and you seem to have like a pretty big vision for what you want people to take away from what they view from hunters and that kind of thing. You seem like you know what you want. You had this goal, and you want to change a little bit of the world, you know what I mean, in one way or another, and just show this as what it is, And I know you talked about this earlier, and we're the same way. We just want to hunt, you know what I mean? That's a big part of why we do what we do. Do you see this as something that is so important to you that you will always continue to? Are you going to try to do this forever? Are you going to, or would you go back to the corporate world so that you can finance,
so that I can actually pay for something.
Something, yeah,
right.
so that you can finance what your hobby is.
So I don't
know
have
what I mean?
to camp the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm probably not turning back. As Casey's noted, I'm way too old to turn back now.
But if you could turn back time, change your ways.
I'm going down in flames like this.
You just J-hooked real quick,
I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be killed by a mountain lion. and that'll be a good way to go.
We talked about that the last time he was on the podcast.
We did.
We did. Hit the brainstem with a...
Yeah,
That's right.
Mountain lion death is the best death for you guys out there. Don't get eaten by a bear. Get eaten by a mountain lion.
Well, there's ocelots down here.
Jaguar.
So, and jaguars.
Girundis.
So.
I'm not sure how jaguars killed by the brainstem too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you not seen the video of that one swimming across the river and then it gets a caiman in its mouth and just right behind the neck?
Takes it into a tree.
That was an African jaguar, wasn't it?
No, that's no such thing. African
That was a
jaguar.
leopard.
You're going to get on our podcast and spit.
That was a leopard.
No, it was a jaguar eating a caiman.
That was a leopard
You
eating
can't
a
get on
crocodile.
here and preach for 2 hours
was
and
a-
then act like there's jaguars in Africa.
Listen, there's jaguar. That was a leopard, and it was eating a crocodile.
No, sir.
You're sure?
I'm positive.
I think it could be the same thing.
Listen, there's a difference in an ocelot and an ocellated turkey, okay?
What's that other thing down there?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, so you're not going to, you're going to do this forever now.
I'm not gonna
I mean, you
bail
only
out.
got a few more years before that mountain lion attack, right?
I'm not gonna abandon ship. Social Security's right around the corner.
Sure.
So I mean, Medicare for all, right, Casey?
Yeah.
That's right. Bernie Bros.
That's right, man.
I'm not going anywhere. We're gonna. I'm gonna keep redefining what upland hunting is, including pigs now apparently.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Did he
We're
really
just gonna.
just say that?
I think so.
We're gonna keep. We're just gonna. We gotta keep going, man. We can't stop now.
Yeah.
We're too pot committed. Pot committed at this point.
Yeah.
So, I know we're trying to wrap up, but that just cannot not ask that question after you say that. It seems like your opinions and your outlooks has changed so much since, say, 2002. That's the earliest date I heard you mention.
Right.
Like the way you look at stuff. And I can't imagine that you remain stagnant to where you are.
No.
So, in 10 years from now, like,
Predicted.
your opinions are going to be so different then, too,
Sure.
right?
And we'll pull up this podcast and we'll go, man, you were a backward POS back then.
All you do is party hunt now.
No, but like, what? I mean, what is that? I know you can't say because you're not a future teller, but like, if judging by how just because you're the only one who knows how much your opinions have changed now since from then till now, like, what's it going to look like then? Are you going to because like today you joked with me about the ruffed grouse and like you could. And I said, well, okay. And you're like, well, you don't have to actually shoot everything you see. Which what you don't know about me is I have a lifelong bird list. I'm a huge birder, and I love to see birds.
I knew that about you.
But
we talked about it on the last podcast.
did we?
Yeah.
Okay, but I've already seen ruffed grouse. That was why I was like, I don't know why. But
Plus, they're tasty, right?
But it could be a different phase
yeah, I
color.
want to kill one and eat it. But like, I don't know where I was going with that. But like. I lost it completely.
It's okay.
Anyway,
I've done that before.
The taste of rough grouse just got in your brain.
Sorry.
That's right. I was thinking about,
hungry.
are they going to be in season? But, like, what is there that can change? You know what I mean? Because I know that we had some healthy discussion right now, but like you're pretty on par with like what I think is right and wrong. So like, what's there to change?
Well, what is right and wrong is the question, and where does the line move? And it's going to take another brain-frying moment to understand it. It's going to take a not getting to the top of a summit, not something's got to happen. The question for me is can other guys have those moments? Can other guys? Because that's what if I were to go, what needs to happen in air quotes the industry, it's other guys need to have moments. It's like y'all need to push past what you think is this success. Unfortunately, the industry points to what they believe is success, and that's where people are kind of entrenched, and they've been there for decades now. And I'm looking for that next. I'm wanting it to happen. I want to be pushed beyond it. I couldn't possibly tell you what it is right now. I don't even have an inkling. Pig hunting is probably going to fry my brain for a little ways.
That's what it was. You joked with me about the ruffed grouse. Are you going to get to that point? So there's guys in the Pacific Northwest who steelhead fish with flies that they've chopped the hook off of, and they're just there for the take. Will there be a point
Man,
to where
it's
you're
too far, man.
Will there be a point where you're climbing the mountain without the shotgun?
No.
No.
I'll have the shotgun. It might not be loaded. I've been using it as a walking stick.
Yeah.
I already do, and that really pisses people off. But they see me using the shotgun as a walking stick, and I get lit up social media. Will I get to a point where I don't shoot birds because I find them too valuable?
Personally valuable, not like.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, right. Do I ascribe a value to them that puts them beyond my ability to shoot them? Man, that's a big one. We've got declining populations in lots of upland species right now, where there'd be a question for me on certain species whether I would. Mm-hmm. I mean, not that you guys care, but on these ptarmigan hunts, it's not like I couldn't have shot more birds. There were days, you don't even know how many I shot. I don't think I answered that question for you.
It sounded low, I think.
But there were days where I was like, that's enough. Mm-hmm. I don't care.
I've had to promise you that I'd only shoot one sage grouse if you took me.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'd be, and guys would laugh at that. I've shot sage grouse before, a sage grouse, and I'm not sure. I mean, situationally, not that the populations are necessarily that pressured, and everybody, biologists can talk to you about this, and
they say hunting doesn't really even dictate the population.
The hunting take. People hunters are way less efficient predators than every other predator out there, and our take is
windmills,
extremely small. That's right. Wind power is killing the sage grouse. Let's start that one up. I don't know. There's always, I have the core enjoyment of this for me is always with the dogs. Although I'm getting more, I'm finding that there's some ancillary joy in introducing other people to what I'm doing. Not because I want the sport to persist, quote unquote, the sport to persist necessarily. It's because I just enjoy somebody else grasping what it is that I'm doing, because I think that I'm an alien in some people's minds, a lot of people's minds. And so when you have, the ability to see what I'm doing and do what I'm doing, and then maybe there's a little bit of understanding. I just feel like maybe that's maybe I like the fact that somebody else in the world might understand it. Mm-hmm. Like, why do you hike to 14,000 feet to kill a ptarmigan? Because he can, because it's the most awesome thing there is right now in my current brain. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe I'll stop killing birds one day. Probably not. I wouldn't count on it.
So you're not going out there just for the point?
Oh, the point. You'd have to define what the point is. The dog point. I thought you were talking about the broader point. No. The point of hunting. No, I mean, the dogs aren't necessarily satisfied unless they're actually completing the job. So you'd have to kill a bird, hypothetically.
I like eating meat that I know hasn't had ammonia all over it. You know what I mean? That's a pretty cliche thing to say too. But I mean, I like feeding my kids and myself stuff that I know what's happened to it, and I have that responsibility, and that that's why I shot those squirrels. I want to not have to go get ground beef and chicken from the supermarket all the time.
Well, the interesting thing about upland birds, and probably pigs too in some regard, not necessarily the ones out here, but when you're tucked in around agriculture, upland birds are eating genetically modified corn.
They're not organic.
No. Pigs probably aren't organic. No. Out here, they're probably eating a lot more acorn and everything else. But truth is they're probably still eating winter wheat. So it's not organic. Meat is not a bad reason to hunt. It's a bit of a hollow reason, in that I did a breakdown on upland birds a number of years back, and the per pound cost of an upland game bird when you factor in dogs, shells.
Yeah, but cost doesn't matter. I mean, like, I'm not saying I'm made of money, but I'm saying I have to eat something. And I literally have to have food to survive. I'm willing to spend a lot of money on that food if it keeps me healthier because there's less chemicals.
But you can buy
involved.
the healthiest meat involved, like the healthiest grass-fed, non-GMO. But it's lame.
It is lame.
See,
right.
why
But
not-
from who? But
why
from
not
who?
have
You
your-
don't know who had anything to do with it.
Why not have
Listen,
your
for
passion?
less money, you can go find a farmer doing everything correctly and pay him less per pound than it costs you to harvest an animal.
Yep.
100%.
And
But
I've done it.
Who can be passionate about that, though? How can you have a passion?
A whole segment of people who are foodies out there are passionate
how
about
can it be
that.
I'm
rewarding,
foodie.
though?
I'm a foodie, but I still would rather come out here and shoot squirrels. I mean, you can shoot squirrels around your house for cheap, and
Just like a storm. I know. Squirrels.
fishing is a great way to provide food, man. I mean, like tons of food,
Especially with a 75 fish limit.
yeah. Party limit.
hunting,
Party
fishing,
limit.
party fishing.
Yeah. So.
I don't say that meat's a bad reason to hunt. I think it's a hollow reason in that it's if this is only about meat for you, that you're lacking. Man, that sounds really bad.
Maybe you shouldn't say it.
But no. I mean, I'll follow through with it. If this is only about the meat, then I think.
I mean, this isn't only about the meat for me.
Well,
Yeah.
no.
So-
I'm not questioning.
No, I like
I'm not
where you're going
questioning
with that.
you.
what you're going to say is not going to offend me, right? It's going to offend
I'm not trying to.
people
I'm
that
trying to
listen.
form my thought in a way that doesn't make me sound like a total jackass. But if it's only about meat, then you're lacking the passion for wild things and the connection to harvesting that meat or killing it, as Casey would say, which I'm okay with the word. If this is just about food, and there was a big movement that was going to be the savior of hunting, is that there was a whole new fooding class who was going to go out and harvest their own animals. I don't have any knock on that, but if this is only about harvesting animals for you and it's not about wild places and wildlife outside of meat, then you're missing a massive part of hunting, and quite frankly, the soul of it. Like, it just, I love every bit of the fact that yesterday when I shot those pigs, within 3 minutes, we were cutting those pigs up. I love them. I love that part of what we were doing, but it was way more than that. And if it's not, then I don't think you're in it for the long term. I don't think the foodie portion of hunting sustains this pastime, this lifestyle, because I think that's a fickle and hollow existence. If this is only about food, there's easier ways to get healthy food, and unfortunately, people are just these animals who will go to the lowest common denominator, and the lowest common denominator is easier. And so, yeah, for a while I'll hunt for food alone because it's cool, but it better be more than just food.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Well, any other debates we want to have before we go try to kill him?
I can make some more people angry.
How cold is Brian right now?
He's chilly.
He's chilly.
This is like the first time. Yeah, so the sun is, we're what, about an hour from sunset?
Yeah.
We're a little less than an hour. If it's the last hurrah for pigs.
Yep.
That's right.
Let's go make it be more than about food.
All right.
All right. I like it.
I like it. Thanks for coming down here, dude.
Yeah, man, it's been great.
I'm glad that we got to talk about sage grouse hunting the whole time.
Yep.
What I like about friends like Brian is that, like, we can have a discussion that we have differing opinions or different views, and we can still, like, at the end of the day, like, after that podcast, we just went out and, like, got into pigs again and had fun.
Oh,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And then we walked back to the truck all beside each other, just chatting the whole way. You
Yeah.
know? And I just like the fact that, that's even though he likes to call people POS, we can still. At least I can take that, and then we can still have a. That's just the way he's.
Brian's
that's just
pretty
the way
radical.
he's wired.
It's just the way he is. And he didn't mean anything by it.
No.
But I'm real happy that we all got to party hunt pigs together. That really made me super happy.
Dude, me too. Me too. It was so much fun. The only thing I wish is that I could have seen him in the moments when he was running them down.
Oh, man, it was good. It was cool, man.
I just wish. I've never seen the dude run, so I don't know. Like, some people run weird, and I figure he's not a real weird runner,
Yeah. He's pretty upright.
Yeah,
runner.
I could see that. Yeah. Very good form.
Yeah.
Very
high knees, but I think it's probably because, Brian probably has pretty good experience running through brush and stuff, being a bird hunter too, you know, in some way. And high knees are imperative to hog hunting.
Yeah.
Because them briars are ankle getters for sure. In fact, we're recording this 2 weweeks out, right?
At least.
After our pig hunt, and I found another thorn that's still in my calf right now a while ago. So
it's pretty good, man. Pretty good. Well, we appreciate him coming on. Go check out Brian's what he's got going on and at Ultimate Upland on Instagram, and I'm sure everywhere else you can find him pretty easily searching the Ultimate Upland stuff. So he's got some cool stuff going on. You probably won't see dead birds, like you said, but
yeah, a lot of almost dead people after climbing 14,000 feet to the top of the peaks. And while you're in the scrolling mood, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, if you would, guys, and everything else we've got going on. Mm-hmm. We pretty active on social media and all that, and I know that sometimes social media is a drag, but we try to be a bright spot in that. And then also, if you're listening to this on the podcast and you're still with us after 5 hours of podcast, be sure and go ahead and hit that subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're getting your podcast from. That way you'll be able to find us a little bit easier next time.
Yep, and we take reviews too.
We do take those.
And guess what? If you're a new person that hasn't heard this before, then you need to hear this. But we do, from time to time, giveaways, and we try to base them off of all the reviews we've gotten, not just new reviews. So at any time, if you review our podcast and then 6 months down the road, we do a giveaway where we give away a brand new car like we usually do, then you will have the opportunity, even 6 months prior putting your review in, to still have, that chance in the hat. We don't just go like, hey, well, all these other several hundred people don't stand a chance, but the new guys get a chance. So anyway, my point is, if you'll give us a review, we will very much appreciate it. We love 5-star reviews. They help us out tremendously in spreading the message of what we're trying to do. We're trying to do this honestly, transparently. We want you guys to feel like you know who we are around every corner. So anyway, anything else? Nothing else? We're just getting ready for some warm weather, hopefully.
I know. I'm ready. I'm actually wearing shorts today, which is borderline, but it worked.
It is borderline. It is. But it's coming, I think. So anyway, guys, appreciate everything. God bless. And remember, this is your element.
Live in it.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.